The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with tension, the air thick with the unease of hundreds of species gathered in one place. The room was an architectural marvel, a massive dome of obsidian-like material, etched with glowing blue circuitry, symbolizing unity through diversity. Representatives of the Galactic Council, a coalition of over 500 species, sat in their designated sections. Some floated in anti-gravity pods. Others perched on crystalline thrones or nestled in aquatic tanks. The atmosphere was alive with the sounds of clicking mandibles, resonant hums, and whispered translations through bioimplants. At the center of the chamber was the speaking platform, a rotating disc that allowed delegates to face every section. Today, however, all eyes, or their equivalent, were fixed on one figure. Human Ambassador Miriam Rook stood tall in her midnight blue diplomatic uniform, the golden insignia of Earth's interstellar alliance gleaming on her chest. Her expression was calm, but her eyes carried a fire that seemed to pierce through the collective gaze of the council. She adjusted the mic embedded in her collar, her voice steady as she began, "Esteemed counselors, I come before you today with an urgent matter concerning humanity's sovereignty and survival." The tension in the room spiked. Few species had interacted deeply with humans, but the stories were hard to ignore. Humans were newcomers to the interstellar scene, their tiny corner of the galaxy considered insignificant. Yet, their reputation for resilience and unpredictability had spread quickly. Another species claiming grievance, scoffed Vaxer Keel, the reptilian envoy of the Zartok hegemony, his scaled lips curling in disdain. This council convenes to discuss galactic matters, not the whims of an upstart species barely out of their cradle. The chamber rippled with murmurs, some in agreement, others scandalized by the dismissal. Ambassador Rook let the comment slide, her voice cutting through the noise. "This isn't a whim, Counselor Keel. My grievance isn't about trade sanctions or territorial disputes. It's about an attack, a deliberate, calculated assault on Earth." The room fell silent. The diplomatic envoy from the species known as the Tyrathian Compact shifted uncomfortably. Their 6 glowing eyes darted around the room as if seeking an exit. Rook's gaze locked on them. "The evidence points squarely at one of our own members within this council," she said, her tone steely. "Tyrathians, do you deny the deployment of a Ravager fleet to Sol 3? Gasps and outraged chatter broke out, the chamber descending into chaos. The Tyrathian ambassador, a tall, spindly figure with translucent skin that shimmered like oil on water, stood. "Ambassador Rook, such accusations are grave and, if I may say, unfounded. We have no record of such actions." "Oh, I'm sure your records are spotless," Rook snapped, her diplomatic demeanor slipping for a moment. She tapped a small holographic device on her wrist, and the center of the room lit up with an image of Earth, scarred, burning, and barely recognizable. The chamber erupted once again. A hologram of destruction was rare in the council, as most grievances were settled before open warfare ever escalated. But the sight of Earth's smoldering continents, oceans boiling under bombardment, was undeniable. Rook's voice rang out again, louder now. "We extended our hand in peace when we joined this council. We adhered to your laws, your codes. Yet one of you saw fit to send ships to our home to devastate our people. I stand here today not to plead, but to demand answers." The audience leaned in, captivated not just by the drama but by the audacity of the human ambassador. Among the spectators was a young Zartok observer named Elyn, tasked with reporting back to her government. She had heard whispers of human stubbornness, but this was the first time she saw it in action. Her claws tapped furiously on her datapad, noting every word, every reaction. As Rook's accusations hung in the air, Counselor Zyn Vol, an ancient, multi-limbed representative from the neutral Okari collective, raised a segmented appendage. The chamber hushed. "Ambassador Rook," Zyn's voice buzzed through the translator. "This is indeed a grave accusation. However, the compact denies involvement, and without conclusive evidence, the council cannot act." "That's convenient," Rook replied, stepping closer to the hologram. She tapped the device again, revealing grainy footage from a space station near Earth. A fleet of angular, menacing ships loomed, their hulls etched with the unmistakable sigils of the Tyrathians. The council gasped as the image zoomed in, showing weapon ports glowing with energy. These ships appeared without warning, Rook said. Our orbital defenses were overwhelmed in hours. Billions of lives were lost before we could even respond. Elyn noticed something curious as she scanned the crowd. The Tyrathian ambassador wasn't the only one avoiding eye contact. A few other species representatives exchanged quick, knowing glances. One even seemed to smirk, a bizarre expression for their kind. Elyn's claws paused mid-air. Something more was at play here. Back on the platform, Rook's voice grew sharper. Humanity demands an investigation into this attack. If the Council is unwilling, we will pursue justice on our own terms. Counselor Val's segmented appendages clicked nervously. Ambassador, such unilateral action would violate. Your laws failed to protect us, Rook interrupted. So forgive me if we don't feel particularly bound by them right now. The chamber exploded into chaos again, but this time it was different. The murmurs carried an undercurrent of fear. Humanity's potential for retaliation, while largely speculative, was a terrifying prospect. A species capable of surviving on a volatile, resource-scarce planet was not one to provoke lightly. Meanwhile, Elyn decided to dig deeper. She accessed the Council's restricted archives through her datapad, leveraging her government's clearance. As she combed through reports, she found something chilling. A record of a secret meeting between the Tyrathians and several other species just weeks before the attack on Earth. The document was heavily redacted, but the timing was too perfect to ignore. Elyn's claws trembled as she realized the implications. This wasn't just about humanity. This was a conspiracy, a game of galactic power politics with Earth as the unfortunate pawn. Back on the speaking platform, Rook closed her argument with a pointed question. If humanity can't trust the Council to protect its members, then why should we remain part of it? The chamber fell silent once more. It was a question no one dared to answer. Elyn's heart raced. She had uncovered a piece of the puzzle, but the question remained. Who was pulling the strings, and why? The Galactic Council's silence was deafening. For a moment, it seemed as if the chamber itself had ceased to breathe, the delegates frozen in the weight of the accusation. But the stillness didn't last. One by one, voices rose, some in defense of the Council, others demanding swift action. The chaos only grew, and in the midst of it all, Elyn's claws hovered over her datapad, her mind racing with the implications of what she had uncovered. Somewhere in the shadows of the Galactic Council, a far deeper game was being played. Humanity's next move. Ambassador Miriam Rook left the council chamber amidst a storm of diplomatic uproar. As she walked briskly down the obsidian halls, her personal assistant, Jonas Turin, matched her pace. That was bold, he muttered, his voice low. Even for you. Rook didn't break stride. Bold is the only thing these people respect. Now we see how they react. Jonas hesitated, his voice tinged with concern. And if they react by sanctioning us? Expelling Earth from the Council? Rook finally stopped, turning to face him. Then we fight. They've already shown us what happens when we play by their rules. It's time we stopped pretending to be something we're not. Jonas sighed. He'd followed Rook through countless crises, but the stakes had never been this high. Earth was on the brink of collapse, its resources stretched thin, its population reeling from the attack. Yet here they were, standing defiant in the face of galactic power. Did the defense analysts find anything useful in the wreckage of the Tyrathian fleet? Rook asked, resuming her march. A few things, Jonas said, glancing at his datapad. Preliminary scans show some of their tech is unusual. Even for the Tyrathians. Rook arched an eyebrow. Unusual how? Jonas hesitated. It's almost as if their ships were augmented with technology from another species. We're running cross-checks now. The conspiracy deepens. In a quiet corner of the council complex, Elyn sat hunched over her datapad, the glow of the screen illuminating her reptilian features. The redacted document she had found gnawed at her thoughts. There were too many unanswered questions, Too many coincidental alignments. She needed more information. Elyn's species, the Zartok, were known for their meticulous records, and she had access to archives that most council members didn't. She pulled up the database, her claws typing furiously as she sifted through old trade agreements, covert intelligence reports, and intercepted communications. Piece by piece, a pattern began to emerge. The Tyrathians hadn't acted alone. Several other species, minor players in the council, had suddenly risen in power after the attack on Earth. Their trade agreements flourished, their military capabilities expanded, and their influence grew. It was as if they had all benefited from humanity's suffering. Elyn's stomach churned as the realization hit her. This wasn't just an attack on Earth. It was a coordinated effort to destabilize humanity's position in the galaxy. Rook's gambit. Back on Earth, in the fortified bunker that now served as the Interstellar Alliance's command center, Ambassador Rook convened a meeting with Earth's top military and scientific minds. The holographic table displayed the wreckage of a Tyrathian battleship recovered during the attack. Dr. Leah Vance, the chief engineer, gestured to the hologram. "This isn't standard Tyrathian tech," she said, pointing to the intricate circuitry embedded in the ship's hull. "It's hybridized. See these patterns? They're consistent with Drazic technology." The Drazic? General Holt, a grizzled veteran with a cybernetic arm, frowned. "They're supposed to be pacifists." "They are," Leah agreed, "at least publicly. But this kind of tech doesn't just show up out of nowhere. Someone's been supplying the Tyrathians." Rook leaned forward, her voice firm. "Can we track where it came from?" Leah hesitated. "It's possible, but it would take time. We'd need access to council-level data." "That's not happening," Holt growled. "Not after today's performance. They're probably already plotting sanctions." "Then we find another way," Rook said, her mind racing. "If the council won't give us answers, we'll get them ourselves." Jonas, standing at the edge of the room, spoke up. "There's one possibility. A rogue AI cluster in the far reaches. It's known for gathering data from all over the galaxy. If anyone has the information we need, it's them." Rook nodded. "Then we go to the far reaches, a secret alliance." Elyn's investigation had drawn attention. As she left the council archives late that night, she noticed a shadow moving in the periphery of her vision. She quickened her pace, her claws clicking against the polished floor. "Elyn," a voice hissed from the darkness. She spun around, her datapad raised defensively. A figure stepped into the light, a Tyrathian, but not one of their council representatives. This one was smaller, their translucent skin dull and cracked. "You're in danger," the Tyrathian whispered. "They're watching you." "Who?" Elyn demanded, her voice trembling. "The ones who orchestrated this," the Tyrathian said. "You've seen the patterns. You know something's wrong. But it's bigger than you think." Elyn's eyes narrowed. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because they'll come for you next," the Tyrathian said. "And because I can help you." The Tyrathian extended a clawed hand, revealing a small data chip. "This contains everything you need to know. Take it." Before Elyn could respond, the Tyrathian turned and disappeared into the shadows. She clutched the chip tightly, her heart pounding. She didn't know who to trust, but she knew one thing. The conspiracy ran deeper than even she had imagined. The rogue AI. The journey to the far reaches was fraught with danger. Rook, Jonas, and a small team of Earth's best infiltrators traveled in a sleek, cloaked vessel, evading patrols and bypassing restricted zones. The far reaches were a lawless expanse of space, home to smugglers, pirates, and renegades. Their destination was the Nexus, a sprawling network of interconnected stations controlled by rogue AIs. These sentient machines had broken away from their creators long ago, carving out their own niche in the galaxy. As their ship docked, Rook felt a shiver of unease. The Nexus was a chaotic maze of flickering lights, shifting pathways, and ever-changing structures. The AIs communicated in bursts of light and sound, their presence both eerie and mesmerizing. A holographic figure appeared before them, a humanoid form made of shifting lines of code. "You seek information," the AI said, its voice echoing unnaturally. "State your purpose." We need data on Tyrathian fleet augmentations, Rook said, her tone firm, and any connections to other species. The AI paused, its form flickering. Accessing. This data is highly classified. What do you offer in return? Rook hesitated. The Interstellar Alliance had little to trade, but she knew the AIs valued one thing above all: knowledge. Our complete database on human neurological adaptations, she said. Every study, every breakthrough. Is yours? The AI's form brightened, its voice tinged with curiosity. Accepted. The information you seek will be provided. As the data downloaded into their systems, Rook felt a surge of hope. They were closer to uncovering the truth, but the closer they got, the more dangerous the game became. The Nexus's data pulse filled the ship, a flood of information that came faster than any human mind could process. Jonas Turin stared at the holographic display as thousands of interconnected files blinked into view. Each thread represented an alliance, a deal, or an operation, connecting the Tyrathians, the Council's minor players, and, most damningly, some of the most trusted members of the Galactic Council itself. Look at this, Jonas murmured, zooming in on a glowing web of links. They didn't just attack Earth. This was coordinated, planned for years. Miriam Rook's jaw tightened as she studied the projection. Show me who's at the center. Jonas hesitated, tapping a few commands. The image shifted, highlighting a name: Counselor Zyn Vol of the Okari Collective. Unmasking the conspirators. Rook's mind raced as she processed the revelation. Zyn Vol, the ancient and respected figure who had mediated countless disputes, was at the core of the conspiracy. The Okari Collective was known for its neutrality, its emphasis on preserving balance. If they were involved, then this wasn't just about power, it was about controlling the future of the galaxy itself. Why would they do this? Jonas asked, shaking his head. The Okari don't need more influence. They already have the Council wrapped around their tendrils. Rook tapped her fingers against the edge of the display, her expression grim. Because Earth represents something they can't control. We're unpredictable, resilient, a wild card in their carefully balanced system. Jonas frowned. You're saying they see us as a threat to their stability? Exactly, Rook said. And they're not wrong. Humanity doesn't play by their rules. That terrifies them. Elyn's discovery. Back at the Council headquarters, Elyn clutched the data chip given to her by the mysterious Tyrathian. Her quarters were small and unassuming, but tonight they felt suffocating as she connected the chip to her private terminal. The files revealed an even more intricate web than she had anticipated. Zyn Vol wasn't acting alone. Multiple factions within the Council were complicit, including the Tyrathians, the Vorn Dominion, and even elements of the Zartok government, her own people. Her claws trembled as she read further. The conspiracy wasn't just about suppressing Earth. It was about creating a new galactic order, one where dissenting species would either fall in line or be eliminated. A sudden knock at her door shattered her focus. Elyn, a voice called, muffled by the thick walls. It's Council security. Open up. Her blood ran cold. They had found her. She grabbed the data chip, her heart pounding as she looked for an escape. The only exit was the narrow ventilation shaft above her terminal. She hesitated for only a moment before prying it open and climbing inside, the sounds of her quarters being breached echoing behind her. The chase. The ventilation system was a labyrinth of twisting passages, the hum of the Council building's machinery masking her movements. Elyn crawled as fast as her claws could carry her, clutching the chip tightly. She couldn't let it fall into the wrong hands. Behind her, the sound of footsteps grew louder. The Council security team wasn't far, and their tracking devices would soon pinpoint her location. Desperation fueled her as she spotted a maintenance hatch ahead. She kicked it open, tumbling into an empty corridor. The building's automated systems detected her immediately. Alarms blared, red lights flashing as security drones swarmed the area. Stop where you are, a mechanical voice boomed. Elyn didn't stop. She darted down the corridor, dodging drones and narrowly avoiding capture. Her mind raced, searching for a way out. Then she remembered the transmission hub. If she could reach it, she could send the data to someone who could act on it. someone like Miriam Rook. The Galactic Council's deception. On the far edge of the galaxy, Rook's ship was nearing Earth's borders when the message from Elyn arrived. The holographic transmission was shaky, the Zartok's face pale with fear. "Ambassador Rook," Elyn said, her voice trembling, "I found proof. The attack on Earth wasn't just a Tyrathian operation. The Okari, the Vorn Dominion, even my own people, they're all involved." Rook's expression darkened. "Do you have the data?" Elyn held up the chip. "It's encrypted, but it's all here. You need to." The transmission cut off abruptly. Jonas cursed, slamming his fist on the console. "They cut the line. They'll come for her," Rook said, her tone grim. "We need to act fast." The climax. Rook's ship altered course, heading straight for the Galactic Council. It was a dangerous move. Earth had no official reason to return so soon, and their presence would undoubtedly draw suspicion. But Rook knew they had no choice. "We're going in covert," she said, addressing her team. "We'll extract Elyn and get that data to the council floor. If we can expose the conspiracy, they won't be able to cover it up." The plan was simple but risky. Jonas and a small team would infiltrate the council headquarters under the guise of a diplomatic mission, while Rook prepared to confront the council directly. Timing was everything. As the ship neared the station, Rook received a coded message from an unexpected source. Ziwayan Vol. "Ambassador Rook," the message began, the Okari's voice calm and measured. "You've caused quite the stir. I hope you realize the futility of your efforts. The council operates on stability, and humanity threatens that balance." "You mean we threaten your control?" Rook replied coldly. Ziwayan Vol didn't deny it. "You were never meant to survive this long. But I suppose your defiance is admirable. A shame it must end." The transmission cut off, and the ship systems lit up with warnings. A blockade of Tyrathian ships had emerged from hyperspace, surrounding the station. Elyn's last stand. Inside the council building, Elyn had made it to the transmission hub. She inserted the data chip into the console, her claws moving frantically to upload the files. The alarms grew louder, and she could hear the heavy footsteps of security forces closing in. "Come on," she muttered, watching the progress bar inch forward. "Come on." The door burst open, and a squad of armed guards stormed in. Elyn ducked behind the console, her heart pounding. She had no weapons, no way to fight back. All she could do was stall for time. The progress bar reached 80%. "Step away from the console," a guard barked, aiming their weapon. Elyn didn't move. If she could just hold on a little longer. Suddenly, the room shook violently. The lights flickered, and the guards stumbled. Elyn glanced at the console. The upload was complete. A voice crackled through her comm device. "This is Rook. We're here. Hold on." The battle for truth. Outside the council station, chaos erupted as Rook's team engaged the Tyrathian blockade. The sleek, agile human ship darted through enemy fire, its experimental cloaking device giving it a temporary edge. But the odds were overwhelming. Inside the station, Elyn was pinned down, her hope fading as the guards closed in. Then, in a flash of light, Jonas and his team appeared, their weapons blazing. The guards didn't stand a chance. "You're Elyn?" Jonas asked, pulling her to her feet. She nodded, clutching the data chip. "The files are uploaded. It's up to Rook now." In the council chamber, Rook strode onto the central platform, flanked by Jonas and Elyn. The delegates erupted in confusion and outrage, but Rook silenced them with a single command. "Play the file." The room darkened as the holographic display lit up, revealing the full extent of the conspiracy. Gasps and shouts filled the chamber as the delegates saw the secret meetings, the deals, the blatant manipulation. Ziwayan Vol's image appeared last, his calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos around him. "This is treason," Rook declared. "Not just against Earth, but against everything this council claims to stand for." The confrontation was far from over, but the truth was out. The galaxy had been shaken to its core, and the conspirators would face the consequences. Humanity had not only survived but had proven its strength in the face of overwhelming odds. The battle for justice had just begun. The Galactic Council chamber was a tempest of chaos and fury. Holograms of evidence floated in the air, casting the room in eerie shades of blue and red. Zyn Vol's serene image loomed large, the calculated betrayal etched into every incriminating file. The once respected Okari counselor now sat silent, his segmented appendages folded tightly, his neutral facade finally cracking under the weight of exposed truths. "You have betrayed the principles of this council." Ambassador Rook's voice rang out, cutting through the cacophony. Her eyes burned with righteous anger, and her presence commanded the attention of even the most reluctant delegates. This was never about balance. This was about control over the lives of billions. Humanity was just the beginning. The chamber erupted again, species arguing amongst themselves, pointing blame, or recoiling in horror at the scope of the conspiracy. The Tyrathian ambassador tried to speak, his voice drowned out by the uproar. Others, including the representatives of the Vorn Dominion and minor factions implicated in the plot, remained silent, their guilt evident in their refusal to defend themselves. Elyn stood at the edge of the platform, her datapad clutched tightly in her claws. The Zartok envoy avoided her gaze entirely, a clear acknowledgement that her findings had shaken the foundations of their own government's duplicity. The accusation. Rook didn't let the noise distract her. She turned to the council floor, addressing the delegates with steely resolve. "We demand immediate action against the conspirators. Stripping them of power isn't enough. They've endangered the lives of countless beings across the galaxy. They must face justice." Councillor Zyn Vol finally spoke, his voice cold and measured. "You speak of justice, Ambassador Rook, but you forget where you stand. The council was created to preserve stability, to prevent chaos. What you call conspiracy, I call pragmatism. Earth's unpredictable nature threatens us all." Rook took a step forward, her gaze unwavering. "Your fear doesn't justify genocide, Zyn Vol. It doesn't justify violating every principle this council was founded on." Zyn Vol leaned back, his calm demeanor returning. "And what do you propose? War? Retribution? If you pursue this path, Ambassador, you'll destabilize the galaxy far more than I ever could." The delegates watched, many leaning forward in anticipation. Rook didn't flinch. "Humanity has already paid the price for your so-called pragmatism. If you think we'll back down now, you've underestimated us yet again." A galaxy divided. The council was at a breaking point. Some factions rallied behind Rook, outraged by the conspiracy's depth. Others, fearful of further destabilization, argued for leniency or outright denial of the evidence. The ancient alliance of species that had held the galaxy together for millennia was fracturing before everyone's eyes. In the midst of the chaos, Elyn stepped forward. Her voice trembled at first, but she steadied herself. "My people were complicit," she said, her claws tightening around her datapad. "The Zartok government benefited from this conspiracy. I can't deny that, but I won't stand by and let this be swept under the rug. If the council truly values justice, it must act decisively." Her words sent ripples through the room. A Zartok counselor hissed angrily, but others nodded in agreement. The younger generation of delegates, like Elyn, seemed more willing to confront the uncomfortable truths than their older counterparts. Humanity's stand. As the debate raged, Rook received a quiet message from Jonas. The Tyrathian fleet outside the station had been joined by reinforcements, ships from several other implicated factions. It was clear they wouldn't let the evidence leave the council alive. "They're preparing to attack," Jonas whispered, his voice low enough to avoid detection by nearby delegates. Rook's lips pressed into a thin line. Humanity had come this far, but now they were cornered. If the council refused to act, it would leave Earth vulnerable to retaliatory strikes. If the council supported them, the conspirators' fleets would ensure open war. Either way, humanity was at a precipice. She turned to Jonas. "Patch me into the Interstellar Alliance fleet. Tell them to hold position and prepare for rapid deployment. We're not leaving without guarantees." The turning point. The council's presiding member, an elder from the water-dwelling Catharii species, finally intervened. Her fluid voice resonated through the chamber, amplified by the translators. Enough! This council was founded on unity, not discord. The evidence before us is undeniable. The actions of the Okari Collective, the Tyrathians, and their allies have violated our most sacred tenets. Zuan Vol's calm exterior faltered. Counselor Lyvth, consider the consequences of siding with these humans. Their demands will lead to chaos. Lyvth's response was unyielding. It is chaos of your own making, Zuan Vol. This council cannot claim legitimacy if it turns a blind eye to such betrayal. A vote was called. The room held its collective breath as species cast their decisions. Rook's heart pounded as she watched the results tally on the central display. One by one, the factions aligned either with the conspirators or with humanity. When the final vote appeared, the result was clear. The council sided with Earth. The conspirators' retaliation. As the decision was announced, the Tyrathian ambassador slammed his clawed hand on his console. "This is a mistake," he hissed. "You've doomed us all." Moments later, alarms blared throughout the station. The Tyrathian fleet, along with ships from their allies, had opened fire. The council station shook as explosions rippled across its outer structure. "Get everyone to safety," Rook shouted as Jonas and Elyn rushed to her side. "We need to hold them off long enough to transmit the evidence to every major system." Earth's cloaked ship engaged the attacking fleet, its advanced weaponry cutting through the enemy forces with surgical precision. But the odds were overwhelming, and the human vessel couldn't hold forever. Rook turned to Elyn. "You're the only one who can ensure the evidence survives. Get to the central comms array and send it to the galaxy." Elyn hesitated, her eyes wide. "What about you?" "I'll hold the council together," Rook said. "Now go." A lasting victory. Elyn sprinted through the chaos, dodging debris and enemy fire as she reached the comms array. With trembling claws, she activated the system and uploaded the files. A final command sent the evidence to every corner of the galaxy, ensuring the conspirators could no longer hide. Back in the chamber, Rook rallied the remaining delegates. "This is your chance to prove the council's worth. Defend the station. Defend justice." The loyal factions mobilized their fleets, joining Earth's ship in the battle. Together, they overwhelmed the attackers, driving them back into hyperspace. As the dust settled, the council chamber was in ruins, but its purpose remained intact. The conspirators were captured or fled into hiding, their power shattered. The aftermath. In the days that followed, the council convened emergency sessions to restructure its governance. Humanity, once seen as an unpredictable outsider, emerged as a symbol of resilience and justice. Elyn, hailed as a hero, was appointed as a special envoy to oversee the reforms. Her courage had not only exposed the truth but had also inspired others to take a stand. Rook returned to Earth, greeted by a planet that was scarred but unbroken. The cost had been high, but humanity had secured its place among the stars, not as a pawn, but as a force to be reckoned with. As the galaxy began to heal, a message from Earth echoed through the stars. "We stood for what was right. We will stand again if we must." The council's future remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. Humanity had forever changed the course of galactic history.